Hello and welcome everyone to this week's COT review. It's my pleasure to announce that CFTC has finally updated all the reports that we were missing in the past couple of weeks. This latest report, the 11th of this year, showing the report for March 14th, has been issued yesterday, and of course our systems have updated everything. So I'm glad that we can continue these weekly reviews finally. Now, for those who were anxious to get an understanding of what different participants are doing, I actually did a special video on how you can actually use the iCOT Intraday Indicator, a very, very special tool to analyze longer term pictures in markets. So I am going to show you one market in this review and explaining to you how you can actually benefit from the intraday indicator as well, used not necessarily on intraday shorter time frames, but you can actually use it on daily charts as well. So let's get into the review and start as usual with looking at the largest changes in commercials positions. You can see we've got the Mexican peso on top of our list. This is based on a 52-week look back period. We are of course analyzing the net positions in the classic or so-called legacy data report type. We are analyzing futures and options data, and let's get to it. So Mexican peso, here we have a 75% change in commercials net positions. You can see that it is a huge change. We have seen this once just towards this bottom. This case back in December, this was actually a bullish COT change signal, seemingly effective, pushing the market higher. Interestingly, we are witnessing a bearish COT change signal, but we've already witnessed a bit of a decline. So it's really not the best setup, actually. I like COT change signals to be pointing in the opposite direction, where in the past couple of days the market was headed. So you can see that the past 2 weeks we have actually experienced a significant decline in Mexican peso. So having this bearish reading is not necessarily that supportive, to be honest. But let's move on and have a look at the wider perspective of this market, which, as you can see, traders are more or less in between the two major extremes. So on this 5-year chart, you can see we have a very bearish reading from January of 2020, just before this decline. And we had some bullish extremes, maybe the largest from December of 2021. You can see the buildup, and it was more or less the bottom of this range. So not much to conclude from the extreme analysis, to be honest. So I would actually pass on this market. But we have other currencies in this review, actually 3 more. The Euro British Pound currency pair, where you can see we have a 61% change in commercials net positions. Again, this is a bearish change signal, but in the case of Euro British Pound, I always say that although we have a specific futures market on it, I would never base my decision purely on analyzing this in itself. So it's good to have, but as you can see, data goes back only until 2014. And even then you can see there wasn't much going on. So it really started doing something after 2016. So really not a huge history in the COT reports over there. But if you want to analyze the Euro and the British Pound currencies separately, that may actually be a good idea to do if you're someone trading this market. So let's move on to the Australian dollar. Now here we have actually quite a significant history dating back until 2004. So, and it's actually, I would consider this to be a very good market for COT analysis. Here we are witnessing a bit of a rise in stress levels compared to the past couple of weeks. Nothing extremely large. We had more bullish COT extreme over here. Just by looking at the chart, I wouldn't really conclude anything too much out of it. And you know what? COT analysis can be boring many times, but when those few occasions happen, when there's an all-time extreme, or a significant stress level in the market, popping into your face, very, very obvious, those are actually worth waiting for. Moving on to large speculators, COT Extreme analysis. Here we have the South African Rand with a all-time extreme, both in commercials net positions and in large speculators as well. It is an unquestionable bullish COT Extreme. Now, is this the point to, expect the market to bottom? That's a hard question. Stress levels are high, that's for sure. And you can see what happened in the past when we had a more significant bullish extreme, the one I'm showing to you from April of 2020, a good example at the bottom, just when commercials are net long and large speculators went under the zero line, becoming net short. Here we have that being the case right now, suggesting that we should see a medium to long-term shift in the trend from this bearish picture and see rise in the South African Rand. Now, crude oil is our next market. We're going to stop here because I'm going to show you crude oil on the intraday indicator as well on TradingView. So here we have a 373 report extreme in large speculators. We have a significant 367 report extreme in commercials net positions as well. Now, in the case of crude oil, my experience is that actually these all-time extremes can be, or pardon me, it's not an all-time extreme, but very, very, very large. These could be present in the market for many, many weeks and months before anything happens. So it's good to note if you're trading this market that after witnessing this decline, stress levels have changed accordingly, and we are getting a more bullish reading from COT Extreme analysis. But I wouldn't be, jumping on this right away, but rather just, putting in the back of my head, knowing that traders are building up their positions and this will eventually come down to a shift in the trend. We should see crude oil rise, but when that happens, that's the hard part, the difficult part. If we open a much greater time frame, you can see that there's not huge excitement going on in traders net positions. So we are actually, for commercials, staying always underneath the zero line. It's been quite some time, I would say probably back in 2007 when they were net long. So, if you look at this chart, it's quite obvious, but it is getting to the bullish side, no question. 373, we are talking about quite a big extreme there. So, and as I said, I'm gonna show you crude oil. So, we've been waiting for reports for quite some time, since early this year. And the good news is that you can actually get a similar stress analysis from the iCOT Intraday Indicator, which is totally our own tool. So these lines that you see are not actually data from CFTC, not official COT reports, but rather data that we compiled after putting together this indicator. So it is quite the tool, I should say. And as you can see over here from December, we are getting a very significant bullish reading. Now, for those who are new to this, I should stop for 1 second and show you that here at cotbase.com, you will find a lot of educational materials, and underneath indicators, you will find some very good example charts explaining to you what this indicator is all about. So basically, we call them speculators and commercials. Now, again, I'd like to emphasize it's not data from CFTC, but because we have used COT analysis in building up this indicator, it is actually very similar to in concept, measuring stresses in the market. But as you can see, this is a 1 minute candlestick chart on gold. So we differentiate between different signals. We got these yellow diamonds showing commercial extremes, and then we've got the change of candlestick color showing speculators extreme. So when both of them are present in the same time, supported by the balance line over here, this gray little line, then we get these vertical, we call them stripe signals. that are a little bit more rare, but when they do happen, they are indicating something big is going on. Now, what you actually see here is not just the iCOT intraday indicator, but it's with the AfterSignal, which basically gives you some help and assistance in getting into the market. So you can see from June of last year, catching this top on a daily candlestick chart, and basically if you are following this indicator, you are still in as the market is grinding lower. Now you can see how well the system caught this bottom over here. So we do get a buy signal earlier, but actually in my experience, sometimes getting a buy signal and then waiting to really take on the full position you want are right around this stop line. So these green lines are actually assistance lines for where you want to be getting out of the trade, not necessarily right away, as you can see over here. So there's certain settings that can define when you want to get out of the market. This is a default setting on the chart right now. So you can see how well we caught that bottom, and it's basically bouncing between the two stop lines, as you can see. So if you have two iCOT intraday indicators, one focused on the short side of things and one on the long side, you can actually benefit trading this wonderful market. So I just wanted to show you this on crude oil. But of course, this indicator was meant for intraday, so you can change this down to 1 minute candlestick chart if you wanted to. But we are going to go back to the review and look at our last market, which is feeder cattle. We have a 263 report extreme in large speculators net positions. You can see that clearly on the chart over here. And if you go back in time, you can see a place somewhere here in August of 2020 where commercials were at similar levels, which really caught this top over here in the market. And for quite a bit of time, up until October, we witnessed this decline. So it's a bearish extreme, no question, suggesting weakness in the medium to long term. And it's good to note, if you're trading feeder cattle, that stress levels have built up to quite extremes. It can go even further, of course. We'll see, but nevertheless, it's a market to have your eyes on. That's going to be all for this review. If you have any questions, feel free to comment underneath the video or send us an email to info@cotbase.com. And thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this review. Hope to see you in my next COT review. Take care, guys. Goodbye.